Even hours before the Operation Sindoor began, nations across the globe had come together to condemn the terrorist attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam. From US, France, Russia and China to Saudi, Qatar and Iran, condemnations against terror came from all quarters. But two nations remained notably tight-lipped. Pakistan-backed terrorists murdered 26 tourists, but Turkey and Azerbaijan had nothing to say. But then came one of India's most stunning retaliations to terror. In the wee hours of 7th of May, India hit 9 terror sites, killing over 100 terrorists as part of Operation Sindoor. The world knew it was coming. India doesn't have a first strike doctrine, but the nation retaliates, and this time it hit back hard. The international reaction to India's strike on terrorist infrastructure had been one of concern, but there was no condemnation. Most of the world seemingly expected and maybe even understood India's actions. But still, two Islamic states came out in support of what Pakistan did. Their statements seemingly giving a clean chit to terrorists and terror sponsored by Pakistan. Turkey and Azerbaijan were the only two nations that publicly endorsed Pakistan's stance, with both countries issuing statements criticizing India's action. In fact, Turkish President reiterated his support for Pakistan's position on Kashmir, while Azerbaijan's foreign ministry condemned the military action by India and even expressed solidarity with what happened in Pakistan. India has not officially taken any action, diplomatic or otherwise, against either of the nations. With Ankara and Baku standing by Islamabad, will New Delhi turn up the heat? Next is the question. Are Turkey and Azerbaijan now set to see India's icy side? But before it comes from the ruling dispensation, the Aam Aadmi like you and me has taken up the baton. A massive Boycott Turkey and Azerbaijan movement has gained momentum in India. And it's not just the public calling for action against these two nations. Prominent Indian businessmen and even politicians are calling for a boycott. Adding to the case against Turkey, Indian military confirmed that Pakistan used Turkish drones for cross-border action. Many Indians are also urging against traveling to Turkey and Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan and Turkey earns a lot of money because of Indian tourists. Indians traveling to Turkey and the capital of Azerbaijan, Baku, has just jumped in recent years. As per Turkey, at least 330,000 Indians traveled to the country in 2024, more than doubling in just 10 years. In fact, in 2014, only about 5,000 Indians visited Azerbaijan. Fast forward to 2024, a little over 240,000 Indians arrived in Azerbaijan. In fact, since Operation Sindoor, several Indian travel companies have paused bookings for Turkey and Azerbaijan and also issued advisories against visiting these two nations. All in all, Turkey and Azerbaijan last earned over 4,000 crores in just 2024 from Indian tourists. Indian tourists created jobs and boosted economies. Side by side, the Indian government helped the Turkey in the hour of need.
Operation Dost is a very important operation, and this is the operation of friendship.
But Indians have already found an alternative. Reports suggest that Indian tourists are opting for Greece as a sustainable travel destination instead of Turkey and Azerbaijan. Indians from every sector are retaliating in their own way. Goa Villas, a hospitality brand, has decided not to offer any accommodation services to Turkish citizens in Goa. In fact, marble traders in Udaipur have said that they have already ended their business with Turkey. Just to remind you, Udaipur is Asia's biggest exporter of marble. Interestingly, 70% of the marble imported by Turkey reportedly comes from India. Turkey ranks 13th in India's list of top 25 export destinations. Even if India unofficially boycotts trades with Turkey, the country will feel the heat. The proof is in the balance of trade and what is sold and bought by these two nations. In fact, India's export form less than 2% of the nation's total and imports are even less than 1 percentage point. Now coming to Azerbaijan, India's exports to this nation are mere 0.02% of India's total outbound shipments. India sold rice, smartphones, medicines, vaccines and even mechanical evacuators. Now interestingly, Azerbaijan sells produces like crude oil, urea, raw silk, cattle skins and also lemonade. Yes, you heard that right. Azerbaijan sells us lemonade. Well, time for shikanji, I guess. Turkey and Azerbaijan's pro-Pakistan stance has triggered a fierce backlash in India, with economic repercussions already unfolding. While both nations may have calculated their position based on regional alliances, the cost of alienating India could create issues which these nations would have never imagined. For now, the boycott movement reflects India's growing prowess in leveraging its economic strength and to defend its geopolitical interests. Whether Ankara and Baku recalibrate their stance or double down on their support for Pakistan, that remains to be seen. But one thing is clear, the stakes for them have never been higher than before.